3 weeks before our $2.3 million product launch, my boss stopped answering emails. 47 stakeholders were waiting for decisions. My team was looking at me with panic in their eyes, and I had a choice to make that would either save my career or destroy it. Here's what I learned. 84% of workers say poorly trained managers create unnecessary stress. 82% would quit because of bad management. But here's what those statistics don't tell you. You can't choose your boss, but you can choose to lead anyway. And in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. The framework that not only saved that launch, but transformed my relationship with my boss and accelerated my career in ways I never expected. If you've ever felt frustrated watching projects stall because your boss won't make a decision, or you've wondered how to lead when the person above you seems overwhelmed or out of their depth, this video is for you. I'm going to give you the exact 3-step system I used, the specific communication scripts that worked, and the 30-day implementation plan you can start using tomorrow. But first, let me take you back to that moment 3 weeks before launch. I was a senior manager at a Fortune 500 tech company. My boss, who I'll call Michael, was brilliant technically, but had just been promoted to director 6 months earlier. He was drowning. New responsibilities, board pressure, and a communication style that made him go silent when stressed instead of asking for help. Our product launch was the biggest of the quarter. Marketing had spent $600,000 on the campaign. Sales had promises to 3 major clients. Engineering had worked nights and weekends. And now, with 3 weeks left, we needed final sign-offs on pricing, feature prioritization, and go-to-market messaging. Michael had all the approval authority, and Michael had gone radio silent. My team started coming to me. Sarah from product management needed the pricing decision by Friday, or marketing couldn't finalize materials. David from engineering needed feature priority confirmed, or we'd miss the code freeze. Jennifer from sales needed messaging locked, or she couldn't train the field team. Everyone was looking at me, and I didn't have the authority to make any of these decisions. Here's the critical moment where most managers make their first mistake. They either do nothing and watch everything fail, or they go around their boss and create an even bigger problem. I almost made both mistakes. I was angry, I felt abandoned, and I started thinking about how this was all Michael's fault. Then I remembered something a mentor told me years earlier. In combat and in business, we don't always get the leaders we want. Sometimes the boss isn't toxic or malicious, they're simply ineffective. But you don't get to cast blame and point fingers up the chain. That's a recipe for failure. Even with an indecisive or ineffective leader, you and your team can still be effective and accomplish your mission if you take ownership and lead. If you're finding value in this framework already, hit that subscribe button. I post every week with Fortune 500 leadership tactics that actually work in the real world. And turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video where I'll break down the exact communication scripts I used with Michael. So here's what I did instead of complaining or waiting. I created what I now call the lead-up framework. 3 steps that let you lead without overstepping, support your boss without enabling their dysfunction, and maintain team alignment even when leadership above you is struggling. Step 1. Simplify the decision. Michael wasn't indecisive because he was incompetent. He was overwhelmed. He had 17 direct reports when the organizational design said he should have 8. He was in back-to-back meetings from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. And he'd never been trained in executive decision-making frameworks. He needed help, not judgment. So instead of sending Michael another email asking what he wanted us to do, I spent 2 hours creating a 3-path decision matrix. For pricing, I laid out 3 options: premium positioning at $199, mid-market at $149, or penetration pricing at $99. For each option, I included projected revenue, competitive positioning, margin impact, and sales team feedback. Then, and this is critical, I made a clear recommendation based on our strategic objectives. I did the same thing for feature prioritization and messaging. 3 options maximum, clear pros and cons. My recommendation stated up front. Then I requested a 20-minute meeting, not an email response, because I knew Michael processed information better in conversation than in writing. Here's what happened. Michael showed up to that meeting relieved. He told me later he'd been paralyzed because every question felt like it had 50 possible answers. By narrowing it to 3 clear paths with my analysis behind each one, I made his job possible instead of impossible. We made all 3 decisions in 18 minutes. He felt like a decisive leader. I felt like an effective manager, and the team got what they needed to keep moving. This is the first principle of managing an ineffective boss. Simplify so they can execute. Don't wait for direction that isn't coming. Provide it in a way that lets them own the decision, but you do the analytical work. Research from SHRM shows that ineffective senior leadership creates productivity losses of 10 to 52% of an employee's day. Your job is to reclaim that productivity by doing the leadership work your boss can't or won't do. Step 2. Lead without undermining. This is the dichotomy that most managers struggle with. How do you be assertive enough to get things done but humble enough to maintain the chain of command? How do you fill gaps without creating new ones? Here's what I learned during that product launch. Every time we made progress, I made sure Michael got the credit publicly. In the launch review with executives, I said, Michael's decisive leadership on pricing let us capture the mid-market opportunity. In team meetings, I said, Michael prioritized these features based on customer feedback. I never said I convinced Michael or I pushed for this decision. Privately, I documented everything. Every decision matrix I created, every recommendation I made, every meeting where I provided the analysis that led to a decision. Not because I wanted to throw Michael under the bus later, but because I wanted to protect myself and demonstrate my leadership capability when promotion time came. This approach did 2 things. First, it rebuilt Michael's confidence. He started asking for my decision matrices on other projects. Our relationship shifted from me waiting on him to us collaborating as partners. Second, it demonstrated my leadership to other executives who could see I was operating above my pay grade without being insubordinate. Gallup research shows that 70% of variance in employee engagement is determined solely by the manager. When your manager is ineffective, you become the manager your team needs while still respecting the organizational hierarchy. It's not about being submissive or a sycophant. It's about strategic leadership that benefits everyone. The key phrase I used constantly was, how can I help you? Not, what do you want me to do? But, how can I help you achieve what you need to achieve? This reframe made me Michael's ally, not his subordinate waiting for orders. Step 3. Maintain team alignment. Here's where most managers fail when dealing with an ineffective boss. They let their frustration show. They make sarcastic comments. They signal to their team that leadership above them is incompetent, and the entire chain fractures. Your team is watching everything you do. If they sense you've lost faith in the leadership above you, they lose faith in you. I learned to respect the position even when I questioned the person. In team meetings, I never blamed Michael for delays. I said, we're working through some complex prioritization decisions at the executive level. Here's what we can control in the meantime. I also protected Michael from team complaints. When Sarah was frustrated about a delayed decision, I didn't say, yeah, Michael's overwhelmed and not responding. I said, let me work with Michael on that. In the meantime, let's prepare both scenarios so we're ready either way. This maintained respect for the chain of command while keeping the team productive. But here's what I also did that was crucial. I found ways to give my team visibility to executives above Michael. I made sure they presented their work directly to VPs when possible. I highlighted their contributions in company-wide communications. This protected them from career damage if Michael's ineffectiveness became a longer-term problem. Research shows that 50% of employees who are unhappy with their manager leave within the next year. My job was to make sure my team stayed engaged and recognized even while Michael was struggling. I couldn't control Michael's effectiveness, but I could control my team's experience and their career visibility. Quick question for you. Which of these 3 steps challenges you most right now? Drop a comment below. A. If it's simplifying decisions for an overwhelmed boss. B. If it's leading without undermining the chain of command. Or C. If it's maintaining team morale when leadership is lacking. I read every comment, and your responses help me create future content that addresses your specific challenges. Here's what happened with our product launch. We not only hit the deadline, we exceeded first quarter targets by 34%. The launch won an Internal Innovation Award. Michael got promoted 6 months later, and he specifically cited our partnership during that launch as a growth moment for him. And I got promoted to director 9 months after that, with Michael's strong recommendation. But more importantly, I learned a leadership skill that has served me in every role since. The ability to lead up, to support ineffective leadership without enabling it, to take ownership without overstepping. These aren't just survival skills for bad boss situations. They're advanced leadership capabilities that separate directors from managers and vice presidents from directors. Now let me give you the 30-day implementation plan. Week 1. Assess the situation. What specific leadership gaps exist with your boss? Are they indecisive, overwhelmed, lacking technical knowledge, poor at communication, or something else? Understanding the root cause helps you target your support effectively. Week 2. Implement the decision matrix approach. Start with one upcoming decision, not everything at once. Create your 3-path analysis with clear pros, cons, and your recommendation. Request a short meeting to discuss. This builds the pattern without overwhelming your boss. Week 3. Establish the credit sharing pattern. Make sure 1 or 2 visible wins get attributed to your boss publicly. Document your contributions privately. This builds trust that you're not trying to undermine them while protecting your career interests. Week 4. Assess team morale and adjust. Are team members staying engaged? Do they respect the chain of command while still being productive? If morale is dropping, you may need to increase direct team leadership and find more opportunities for team visibility to senior leadership. Here's my final thought for you. Research from when Gallup asked employees about their direct leader, 82% agreed that their boss lacked leadership skills. But here's what that statistic means for you. Most professionals will face this situation multiple times in their career. The question isn't if you'll have an ineffective boss, it's when. And when that moment comes, you have a choice. You can complain, blame, and wait for someone else to fix it. Or you can take ownership, lead up the chain, and turn a challenging situation into a career-accelerating opportunity. Extreme ownership means stepping up without overstepping, leading when required while supporting your boss, not undermining them. That product launch taught me something I use every single day. You can't choose your boss, but you can choose to lead. The framework works. The 3 steps: simplify the decision, lead without undermining, maintain team alignment. They work whether your boss is new and overwhelmed like Michael was, or whether they're checked out, technically incompetent, or just a poor communicator. This week, I want you to identify one area where you can better support your boss. Is it priorities they can't clarify, timelines they can't set, resources they can't secure, or simply explaining the why behind decisions to your team? Take extreme ownership by drafting a simple solution-based plan you can present. Lead up the chain, support the boss, support your team, and win. Before you go, subscribe for weekly Fortune 500 leadership strategies that work in real corporate environments. And share this video with someone who's dealing with a challenging boss situation right now. Sometimes the best leadership move is helping someone else lead. I'm here every week with tactical frameworks, case studies, and implementation guides for ambitious professionals who refuse to let circumstances define their success. See you next week.
This is the C-Suite Playbook, where Fortune 500 strategies meet actionable insights. Your competitive advantage starts here.